The next thing we need to look at is how can we use these trig ratios to find an angle that we might be missing. Now you'll notice in our example here, we know that this angle is a right angle. We don't know the other angles. We don't even know one of them. So how can we use this idea of a trig ratio, that's SOHCAHTOA, to find a missing angle? So you see here that we know two sides. We know this side is length 1 and this is length 4. And so again, I want you to make sure you're writing down steps that we can use. So the first thing we need to do is identify the angle that we are looking for. So in this example, right now, we're going to find the measure of angle A. So for number 1, in identifying that, I would just circle this A. I want to really keep in focus that that's what I'm trying to find. The next thing we need to look at is decide what relationships those sides have. So we're going to write decide on relationship of sides. And what I mean by that is what relationship do they have to this angle? So 4 is our h, or our hypotenuse, and 1 is our adjacent. So now what we need to do is we need to take a look and say, okay, I have my A and my H. Which trig ratio am I going to use? So number 3 is which trig? Which trig ratio? We're running out of room here. Okay, so in this situation, an A and an H, I'm going to find the cosine of A. And I know that's going to be set up with A over H. I would write this right in your notes so you can kind of see those steps. Now here's where a new thing comes in is we know what A and H are. We know that this is 1/4. But how do I get that A all by itself? How do I undo my cosine? And there's a new thing that I want you to take a look at, and this is called the inverse. So for this situation, in order to get this A all by itself, I'm kind of going to move this cosine over to the other side. But I'm going to put a little, you see that little -1 up there? This is actually saying the inverse cosine. It's not a -1 exponent, it's an inverse, meaning undoing. And we're going to find the inverse cosine of 1/4. Now on your calculator, there's a button for this. I want you right now in the chat to send me a message. Do you see this button on your calculator? Tell me yes, or maybe ask for me to help you find it. But make sure you send that message in the chat so I know that you are this part in the video. When I type that into my calculator, I've got to write our answer over here, we're actually going to find that comes out to about 75.5. Remember, this was our answer for an angle, so it means that this angle right here is 75.5 degrees. We identified what angle we're looking for. We decided the relationships of these sides to that angle. And then we set up our trig ratio. And finally, let's see, there's no room down here. I'm going to put our 4. I'll squeeze 4 right here. Our number 5 is use in the inverse trig to solve. Okay, make sure before you continue on, make sure that these 4 steps, whether it's in those words or in your own words, make sure those get down in your notes. We're going to be checking those later. Okay, you'll see I left the same triangle here. We still see our steps. But this time, what if we were trying to find angle B? How are we going to set that up? Well, we've identified the missing angle, right? We're looking for that measure of angle B. We've already identified that. we need to decide how these sides are related to angle B. Well, this 1 is the opposite, and 4 is still my hypotenuse. My third step is now I need to look and decide what relationship can I use? What relationship out of sine, cosine, and tangent uses the opposite and the hypotenuse? Yeah, it's going to be the sine. So now we're going to fill that information in. Our sine of angle B is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Here will be 1/4. I want to get that B all by itself. And so to move the sine, I'm going to move it to the other side and put that little -1 there. So the inverse sine of 1/4. Then as you plug this in your calculator, you should find that angle B is approximately 14.5 degrees. Okay, let's look at another example. This time, I want to find the measure of angle A. So you'll remember before, our first step is to say, what angle am I looking for? Identify that angle. Okay, then we want to think about how are these sides related to that angle? Well, this is an opposite and this is an adjacent. Which trig ratio relates the opposite and the adjacent? Our tangent. So we're going to start and say the tangent of angle A is equal to, remember tangent is opposite over adjacent, so 25 over 20. I want to find what that A is, so I'm going to rearrange it and move that tangent to the other side. Remember, it's now an inverse tangent of 25 over 20. I want you to plug that into your calculator and send me in the chat the value that you got for this answer. Okay, and then when you're done with that, just tell me that you're done watching this video, okay? And we will go on to some practice here shortly.